blooming hedges. Oh, hello there. I did not see you there, filming again. It is the old camera people. Amazing how they sneak up on you. As I put my sword away, I've been chopping a hedge. Amazing how hedges grow. Now, I am old Bragi, or in this case, middle-aged Bragi, and I'm a Viking. And I'm here to tell you an old Danish story called the Mound. Now, the other day I was off in the village to go and see the old farmer Egil. I had heard a rumour that he had shaved his beard off and had grown a moustache instead, and the rumour happened to be true. And I thought, well, how amazing this. For many years I've known Egil with a beard, and now here's Egil with a moustache. In fact, I thought to myself he looked like a young Egil Thorsson. And we were sitting down, and he was telling me about his beautiful rams and sheep he has, and he pointed out one ram. He said, oh, that's the most good looking and beautiful ram you will ever see in the 9 worlds. And he was telling me about a story about this man he met from Denmark when he was down south in the county of Kent in Wessex, the home of the Anglo Saxons and King Alfred, of course. And he said, I was at a longhouse, a big longhouse, and I was doing some trade to buy some sheep. Not long gone down and sold off some other silverware, and I had some coin left, and I thought, well, why not bring some sheep back, some good Kentish sheep? And that is what he did. But whilst he was there, he met a Danish man, and he told him about a story about a mound where there was a stone, and the stone was often referred to as the Ram's Stone or the Ram's Mound. Now, many years ago, in a place called Rolfsted, there was an old farmer, and he was a very jealous farmer. For a few leagues away there was another village, and the farmer in that village was said to be the best farmer in the whole district. And he thought to himself, oh, I'm rather jealous of this man, rubbing his hands together as it was a cold night, and he has the most beautiful looking ram, which I would very much like to have in my herd. And so he came up with a plan to steal this ram, and that is what he did. One day, early in the morning, in fact it was so early it was still dark, the sun had not quite rose, he crept out of his longhouse and he walked the few leagues away to go to the nearby village where the old farmer farmed his sheep. And after a while, in a small wooded glade, he found the sheep half asleep and half grazing on the grass, and he saw the ram in question which he wanted, and he managed to sneak up, and he got the rams by the horns, and he started to carry the ram, the male sheep with the big horns, in his arms, but the legs were kicking about and the ram was struggling, for the ram was very intelligent and knew that he was being stolen. Not a good thing if you was a Viking to steal somebody else's beasts. That could end up in a feud further down the line. But this is what this man was doing, the jealous farmer, and he was struggling and struggling, and he thought, I cannot carry on walking like this with the ram in my hands, struggling. So he thought of a clever idea. He got his pouch and he found a bit of rope, and he got the 2 front legs and he tied them together, and then he lifted the ram over his head with the 2 feet over his neck. And he started walking. He thought, well, this is much better. He had hold of the bottom 2 feet, and the top 2 feet were tied off around his neck. And he had a few leagues to go. And on the way home, he came to a crossroads. He had to go and pass an old wood, and there was an old mire, an old bog, an old marsh. He passed that, okay. He was getting a bit hungry and a bit weak and tiresome from the walking. After all, rams are very heavy creatures, and very dangerous indeed. And so, at the crossroads ahead of him, and he knew there was an old mound, and it was often known as a ram's mound, as a Vaderhodge. And he thought, well, I'm going to go and sit there and have a rest. And so, as he got closer to it, his legs were getting more tiresome and more weary. He managed to get to the mound in time, the old Vaderhodge. And he sat down on the mound, and there was a thin rock, a thin standing stone. But something strange happened when he sat down, the ram got itself caught over the rear side of the stone, and the rope got tight around his neck where the legs were, and it strangled him. He died there then in a struggle. And somehow the ram then managed to get away, and a few hours later, when the people of the small farmstead woke up and realised that one of their prized possessions, their prized rams, were missing, they found the ram roaming around the crossroads, and they found the dead body of the farmer who had been suffocated by the ram. And ever since that time, the place has been known as Stoen. A very scary place and a very scary story, I'm sure you'd imagine. And of course, you know, we often think of people stealing animals as a new thing, but no, it has been happening for thousands of years. There'd always be some jealous neighbour who wanted your sheep or wanted your best horse and would steal it. Not a wise thing to do, especially in the times of the Vikings, because they would hold grudges and they would come and burn down your longhouse with you in it if you're not careful, for revenge. Of course, we also have a thing called law, where they could take you to the All Thing, a gathering of all the wise men of the land, and they could put their case forward and be compensated in silver. So this is the end of the story, but not quite, because where I come from in the old town of Northworthy, which is now called Derby, there's a place in South Derby called Dead Man's Lane, and there's a very similar story to this tale of a man that once stole a sheep and had a rest on a stone wall on a standing stone, and the sheep suffocated him. So it's funny how one story comes from Denmark and the other from England, and how the two compare. The end of the tale. Now if you like the video and you like the channel, then I urge you to go and subscribe. One of those quarters is the old subscription button, and don't forget the old bell. By pressing the bell you'll be notified when we published. And now it is time for me to say goodbye again, and it is cold and the sun is setting, and I must go and start a fire in my longhouse so I can get warm and cook some meat for my tea. I'm having sheep. Goodbye.